All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Millennials to Millionaires. I'm your host, Twee.
I am Daniel King Sold.
And we have a special guest with us today. He's a trailblazer in the community right now, a young gunner, a young entrepreneur, Tefari Bailey. He's the CEO of Hutsy Financial, and they're doing amazing things in the market, especially for people that look like us, people in our community, and people that are just less privileged. Tefari, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So you might have seen him on my favorite show, Dragon's Den.
Next up, this Toronto entrepreneur needs some big money to help launch his ambitious online banking business.
Hello, Dragons. My name is Tefari Bailey, CEO and founder of Hutsy. Today I'm here looking for $500,000 in exchange for 6% of my company, as we're disrupting the banking and lending space. Hutsy is a free prepaid reloadable card that comes with a companion app, offering Canadians the opportunity for no-fee banking.
Okay.
And if we look right over here, we'll be able to see how it works.
Hutsy is an alternative kind of online bank with a physical card. Customers can spend, save, and track finances through the app. Tefari says his competitive advantage is in offering cash advances to customers who need it.
Hutsy is on a mission to service the underserved and to prevent Canadians from going to predatory payday lenders. And we do this by providing early access to payroll if you have direct deposit with us at Hutsy.
To be honest, if I'm watching TV, it's either I'm watching sports or I'm watching Dragon's Den or Shark Tank
right?
in this state. I don't really watch anything else. And I remember when you actually came on the show and I was just like, man, if I ever sit down with this guy, I got a bunch of questions for him because I've always wanted to be on Dragon's Den. I got a million ideas in my mind and I'm like, besides real estate, like I'm an entrepreneur, right? I've had my own business since 8 years old and everything. So tell me a little bit about your journey, bro. Tell me about where you started. Did you grow up in the city? And, how did you make it to Dragon's Den?
All right, my story, wow, goes way back. So originally I'm from Rexdale, Ontario, and you guys know, both being from the city, it's rough really growing up. You see things that you really don't want your kids to see. People that have not made it to the age that you're at, behind bars, etc. So I grew up seeing a lot of people that I don't want to be like in life. And luckily I was able to stay away from that stuff because I was always into sports. You know what I mean? So by the time I got to university and I wanted to get into business, I transferred all of the energy and the love that I had for basketball and other sports into business. So a lot of people know me from Dragon's Den, everything that we're doing at Hutsy Financial, but this isn't actually my first startup. Prior to this, I owned a company by the name of Canada Homes. It was a Canada-wide digital marketing agency specialized in customer acquisition for real estate and mortgage professionals.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Yep, definitely. I did this while I was in university full-time, and I was also working at the bank at TD Canada Trust, and that was the motivation for Hutsy, but I'll touch on that later. But yeah, so I was running Canada Homes with my roommates, also working full-time at the bank, and then it got to the point where, okay, I was putting 20% of my energy and efforts into my startup, 80% of energy into the bank, and I was making around the same amount of revenue. So I thought, maybe if I left the bank and put all of my passion, energy, and the dedication into my startup, it's a safe assumption that I'll be able to 5x what I was doing. We did that, and I was able to do that, and ended up selling that company to a bigger fuel provider right before graduation. So it was nothing too crazy, but it was enough to, pay off my student loans and things of that nature. So, yeah.
So it's crazy because people get into the founder space and some people may never ever exit, but you've already had one successful exit. So how did you even find that company? Like, how did that even come about? They approached you guys, or how was that?
Funny story. They actually approached us because we were, quote unquote, stealing their customers. A lot of their customers were leaving to come to us at Canada Homes. Mm-hmm. So I randomly got a phone call one day. The CEO was very upset, wanted to work together, etc. So at first we started working together after a couple of negotiations where we decided to, they needed help on their Facebook ads and marketing. So we had a joint partnership. And they made multiple offers to acquire the company. And towards the end of my 4th year of university, I went to Brock University where I did economics and computer science there. It made sense at that time as we were about to graduate. I had 3 other founders. I was moving to Toronto. One of my founders was staying in Niagara, one going to London, one to Ottawa. So it made sense for us all to exit at that point in time as we weren't going to be living together anymore.
Okay, nice. If you don't mind sharing, do you mind sharing what you guys sold the company for?
$250,000.
Okay, nice. Okay, so you got 250. Then where did you go? What was your next step? You got 250 in your pocket. Is that for you? Have to obviously split that amongst your other partners, I'm assuming?
Yep. And where that went, so then was the motivation for Hutsy. But originally, Hutsy started off as a real estate company. So let me rewind a little bit. So I went to Brock University, as I mentioned. That's a university town. It's not like the University of Toronto or Ryerson University where it's in a city. People go there, we start school in September and we end in April, but we're signing 12-month leases. So a lot of people go home for the summer since they don't necessarily live in St. Catharines or from the Greater Toronto area.
For sure.
So a lot of my friends, we lived in a place called The Loft. So it was a nice little apartment where there was 4 rooms. We were being charged $600 a month. So in the summertime, if somebody was leaving, I would have meetings with their whole household and say, hey, you're not going to be here from May, June, July, August, and you're coming back in September. Instead of you paying $600 a month, I'll give you guys each $200. So at least you're only paying $400. It's nothing too crazy, but over 4 months, you're saving $800. As a pro college student, it adds up.
It makes sense, yeah.
I'd take that deal.
Right? And then I would go on to resublet those leases out to other people and say, hey, this is normally going for $600. I'll give it to you for $400. And I would be profiting, $200 in between, $800 per unit. And that was good. So the next year I would have my tuition paid and food and everything of that nature. So then after graduation, I decided to do this on a professional level. I'm like, hey, this really worked for me. I'm moving to Toronto. This is the biggest city in Canada. Why not do this on a professional level with Airbnb? So I started partnering up with a ton of different landlords to ultimately do the same thing. You have a 2-bedroom condominium downtown. Instead of renting it out for $2,500 a month, let's do this on Airbnb and we'll go halves on the profits. So we did this, and towards the summertime, we were renting out 2-bedroom units downtown Toronto in the core for up to $500-$600 a night, depending on Caravana and things of that nature. So it was really profitable. At one point, we had about 25 units across the city.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yep. And then COVID hit. The COVID-19 pandemic hit. Unfortunately, we were running it up, so travel stopped. The airlines were down. The city was placing rules and regulations on Airbnb. So what we did there is we found a buyer to purchase our book of business, which was great, as everybody was jumping out the window trying to get rid of their units. But this individual thought, COVID's only going to last a few months. I'm going to continue to take on units. Great for us because we were able to sell that book of business. Bad for him because, this lasted years. So I don't even know.
It was longer than 3 months.
Definitely longer than 3 months. So we were left with an excess amount of capital. So I thought back to my team. We're like, okay, we have all this capital from the real estate side. People are losing their jobs. Why don't we get into loans? So then we changed the business from Hutsy Stays to Hutsy Financial. So we started giving out short-term loans of about $500 to $1,500. Pretty much in a nutshell how it would work. Let's say David takes a $500 loan from us. He's paying us back in 6 biweekly payments of about $125.11. So that adds up to about $750 and some change over 6 weeks. So for every $500 we were giving out, we were making an additional $250 in profits. So we ran it up. We ran it up after a while, and then I thought to myself, morally and ethically, this probably isn't the right thing to do. Is we're charging interest rates up the I don't want to say the word on the podcast, but we're charging interest rates out the butt. We're charging interest rates out the butt. What if there was a way where we could still help these individuals, offer them these loans at a low interest rate or no interest rate? Thought about it for a couple of weeks and then thought, why don't we just open up our own bank? My experience in the bank, as I mentioned, I used to work at TD Canada Trust doing everything from the entry-level teller position all the way up to a financial and investment advisor. I was there so my first 5 quarters at TD Canada Trust, I started off, quarter number 1 was training. Quarter number 2, I was number 1 in my branch in terms of sales revenue. Quarter number 3, I was number 1 in my district in terms of sales revenue. Quarter number 4, number 1 in the region. Quarter number 5, number 1 in Canada. So they really promoted me very fast to become a financial investment advisor while still full-time in university. Working in a lower income area, I had a ton of people coming to see me on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to get a short-term loan for something that may have happened. A car payment, medical expenses. I need to send my children to school. But unfortunately, I wasn't the one approving or declining them. I was behind the desk filling out the information. The algorithm declined a lot of them.
For sure.
So I would see them have to go to the payday lender in the same plaza and get that loan, but at a significantly high interest rate.
Of course.
So that was the motivation for Hutsy before it even happened. And we thought, okay, banks have all this money in assets under management, but they pay us a 0.05% interest rate on savings account, but they're lending it out to other people at a 15% interest rate.
20% on credit cards.
So they're making a killing in terms of money. So if we had our own bank and we had all of these assets under management, we could loan this out to other people for free as long as they're banking and having direct deposit set up with us. So that was all of the motivation me and the team needed to get started. So we decided to, create a prototype, our UI, UX designs, our business plan, our deck, etc. And then I was scrolling through LinkedIn one day, and one of my buddies, he posted that he just submitted his Dragon's Den application. I said, Dragon's Den. I submitted an application. Fortunately, we were able to get a call back. I had an interview.
How long between the time you submitted the application?
Take us back. Like, when did you submit the application? Like,
how long did it take?
So I don't remember the exact month that I submitted the application, but it took about a month for them to reach back out.
Okay, that's pretty quick.
Yeah. And then
so you just randomly checked your email and you're like, boom.
Yeah.
Somebody at Ashley at Dragon's Den.
Right.
That must have been an exciting email to see come in.
Yeah, it was very exciting because bear in mind, we're pre-product, pre-revenue, just some UI, UX designs
just
an idea at the end of the day, So then I had an interview with a couple of producers. They really liked what we were doing, and then we made it to stage 2. And after stage 2, they got really intense with everything that we were looking to do, and it was sort of tough as we were pre-product and pre-revenue, as I mentioned. And then about 3 weeks later, I got another email with one of the main producers wanting to schedule a one-on-one Zoom call. So I was thinking they were just wanted to call me to tell me that unfortunately I didn't make it. So I had the conversation with the lady. She asked me, what would it mean for you to be on Dragon's Den or to even be funded by one of the dragons on Dragon's Den? I said that would mean everything. That's ultimate brand equity, brand loyalty, and that would really be a staple. Of course. And then she told me, well, wow, that's great because you've made it. So I was so shocked. I was sick. Like, holy smokes. And they actually recorded that conversation. But yeah, I was so surprised that I made it.
That's sick.
That's mind blowing because when I watch the show, one of the main questions is, how much money have you made? And if you're, pre-revenue, like you say,
they go at
they drill you. Not only that, but I would say 95 out of 100 of those people don't get a deal because it's like you don't have a proof of concept. All you have is an idea, and it's for a dragon to take a leap of faith on you. How do they know it's going to work if you haven't even taken that step yet to get to sales and to get to revenue? You know what I mean? So, actually being able to secure a deal, being pre-revenue, like what did that mean for you? Like when you shook Wes Hall's hand and and that was done, like what did that really mean for you, bro?
That meant everything. As they gave me some times in terms of when we were able to go on the show. So I believe we picked the last time. I think we picked the last airing date, which was late June, to give us some time to further develop our technology or UI UX design, get the pitch down right. And actually going into the den, oh my gosh, it was crazy.
Nerve-wracking, right?
Nerve-wracking. I'm never really nervous to share my idea with anybody, but when you're there, you have all these cameras, all these lights in your face. You see all the dragons that you see on TV, just looking at you like, who are you? What do you offer, and why should I care?
Yeah.
And it was tough, so I got back to storytelling. You know what I mean? It's like the best way to sell somebody on your product is to tell an emotional story that they'll be able to relate to.
Pull their heartstrings.
From the heart. Yeah. Exactly. So I didn't go in there selling anything. I just told a story, my story at TD Canada Trust, what I wanted to do to help the community, and people really don't know. You're in the den for an hour and a half.
Really?
Yeah, for an hour and a half.
I thought it was 10 to 15 minutes.
That's what they cut up and show you, right?
Yeah. You're an hour and a half in there.
Yep, that's what they cut up and show you.
Wow. So what do they cut? Like, was there a lot more back and forth? Like, what did we miss in those other hour and 15 minutes?
They just ask you a million different questions, and if you don't understand your business model to the T, they will rip you if they have any point, any point where they could.
All they're looking is for one gray area to shut you down.
One gray area.
So because you didn't have revenue, were they like? Was there any apprehension there? Like, what was that conversation like, or what was your response to them saying like, "Oh, how come you don't have revenue?" It was just a matter of timing. It was just because you just recently started, or what was the reason?
We really haven't launched, and it's like what I was selling them on was myself. At the earliest stages, you're believing in the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I'm a multi-time founder. I already had an exit, already had a few co-founders, And
so you said this in that hour we didn't see.
Yeah,
okay,
of course.
Cool.
To sell them on myself and my
Got
resume,
you.
my background is in financial services, so I understand the angle in which the banks aren't really working at, looking to solve.
You understand the void.
Yeah. So we're not taking the highway, we're taking the back roads. Totally. So I think that's what really got them, honestly.
Got you. And that prototype that you ended up building, like how much did that cost you? What was the process in building that up?
The process of building that out, so good thing that our team is mostly comprised of developers. So I'm a developer
locally?
myself. Yep, locally and internationally.
So you know how to develop? You know how to code?
For sure, most definitely.
Because you did computer science. Okay.
Yeah, so I wouldn't consider myself A+ at coding, but I know enough not to get finessed. So if somebody comes on board and say, hey, this is going to take me 2 months to do it, no, it's not, buddy. This should take no more than 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Got you. So how long did it take to build out your prototype? And is your MVP right now, is that similar to what you have right now? Or
absolutely not. So what we showed on Dragon's Den to what our MVP is right now, it is a 1,000% upgrade.
Gotcha.
For our listeners that don't know, what's an MVP?
Your minimal viable product.
Okay.
So usually they say, like, if you can't release an MVP within a month, it's not really an MVP. It's got to be something that's so minimal that it's enough to garner attention, to garner interest, but there's room to build on it. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And you need it so basic because it has to just function just with the mere basics of what you're trying to do, right? And I think people fail to do that because people want to build out this thing, this great vision that they have in their mind. They spend time building it out, but they realize like they're doing themselves a disservice, right? Time is working against you. And ultimately, when you release into the market, your customers will tell you what they want from you, right? So you think you know your customers, but when you release something into the market, they're going to tell you what they really need from you, essentially, right?
Totally. I agree with everything said. It's much easier to scale vertically than horizontally. You want to build out your minimum viable product, which is just enough to get a few users on board so they could provide you with feedback, and then you build the rest of the products that they want you to build. Because if you go all ham and build everything and your clients don't like that, then you spend all this time, money and energy into this and nobody's buying it.
No, 100%. I completely understand.
How much did you spend sort of putting things together? How much time and how much money?
Time. So I'm usually up at 4 a.m. every day, especially around those times. I would wake up at 4 a.m. every day and I would be working all the way up until midnight. Like I would isolate myself, no friends, no social life, limited time with family, just on the grind. Like my team was my family, just on the grind with the team. And we definitely spent over 6 figures. Luckily that we had that exit with Canada Homes, that I was able to use the majority of that money into Hutsy, and especially with the real estate stuff and the lending side, we had enough cash flow to really build this out in-house. And then we also did an equity crowdfunding round of funding via Equivesta, which is an equity crowdfunding platform in Canada. The reason that we did that is because I had so many family and friends wanting to invest in what we were doing at Hutsy Financial, but there was no way for me to legally take money from them unless they were an accredited investor. So we opened up that round, and I want to say that we raised about maybe $100,000. It was nothing too crazy. It was just, we didn't really promote it like that. It was just family and friends.
Oh, that's amazing, brother. So where are things at right now with Hutsy? Have you guys officially launched yet? Like where are we in the process?
We've launched our version 1 where we have about 500 people testing everything out. We are going to launch our version 2 towards the end of December or early January. It's just tough because we have about 30,000 plus people signed up, ready to go to use the product.
Wow.
So yeah, which is crazy. And we really haven't done any marketing or anything of that nature. It's really been organic, word of mouth.
It's amazing.
Thank you so much for the kind words. So we would like to get all the bugs and glitches out of the way with the private beta test before we go live. Because if we go live and things happen there,
we're going to lose those 30,000 people very quickly.
We're going to lose those people, exactly. So we're taking our time.
For sure, yeah. And I think with these things, it's very important not to rush it. I think a lot of times people are very eager to get their product out and they don't really cross all their T's and dot all their I's. So I think it's very important what you guys are doing with this company, and I think it's amazing, bro.
Totally, and I completely agree with what you said with taking our time. Like the end goal is unicorn status. We're going for unicorn status. We're not looking to rush everything. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Exactly. No, 100%, man. But no, this is amazing.
So if you had to put a valuation on Hutsy right now, what would you say Hutsy's worth?
The last round that we raised, the valuation that we had was $10 million. So when we look to raise another round of funding, maybe by next September, I would imagine that the company would likely be valued at about $50 million at that time.
5-0.
Yeah, 5-0.
Bro.
Yeah,
You gotta give it up to
But that's in the future. We can't really tell. But based off the projections and the things that we're looking to do, that's what my educated guess would be.
It's amazing. And obviously the goal is to get to billionaire status, right?
Billions upon billions upon billions. Not for myself, but
for the
our
community.
shareholders, for the community, for everybody that invested in Hutsy at the earliest stages. It would be nothing much. Like, the dream would be to be on the Toronto Stock Exchange, whether it's the NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, TSX, whatever it may be, and having all of the early investors behind us and all of us cashing out together.
Yeah.
That's the goal. That's the dream.
That's key, man. Well, listen, I want to be one of those early investors. So when you're doing that next round, you make sure you shoot me a text, you let Tweety know, and we're definitely going to jump in, man. I've never, met an owner of a bank before, especially somebody that looks like me. So it's been an honor to sit down here with you today, man, and you're doing amazing, incredible things. We're definitely looking forward to seeing everything that you have coming in the future. So I really, really do appreciate you coming and sitting down with us today.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. And the last thing that I want to share with the audience, I don't think I dug in deep to what Hutsy Financial actually does, so I'll share it with the audience. Hutsy Financial is the first debit card in Canadian history that allows you to build credit on every purchase that you make. No credit checks or collateral required. We also offer early access to payroll, so you never have to use a payday loan again or wait 2 weeks to get paid. This is all free of charge, no interest, as long as you have direct deposit set up with us. Cash back on every purchase that you make, as well as no monthly fees and limited purchases.
Amazing, amazing, bro. How old are you?
26.
26. So to all the 26-year-olds that are listening to you right now, before you leave, I want you to just give them one gem of something that you feel that can help them get to where you are, or even past where you are, if you had to say anything to the 26-year-olds listening out.
A few things that I would say to them is, number one, success leaves clues. If you're trying to build something, there likely is somebody else that's tried to build something very similar to you who has or have succeeded. Go out looking for mentorship, because if it took them 10 years to do something and you could go under their wing, they could accelerate your process. Instead of it taking you 10 years, you could probably do it in 1 to 2 years, because they'll give you the right path to move forward, because we've all made mistakes in things that we do. Secondly, A-plus players around you. A small team of A-plus players will run circles around a bunch of B's and C players. What I mean by that is you don't have to do everything by yourself. Have specialists on your team. If you're not the best software engineer, developer, coder, etc., bring on somebody who is. Bring on people that complement your weaknesses. That's very important. Look at the Golden State Warriors. They all have a bunch of people that complement one another, and that's why they're able to succeed really well. Same concept applies to business.
No, man, that's amazing, bro.
Yeah, impressive young man.
Love the gems, bro. Man. I wish I was that sharp at 26. But listen, man, that was another episode of the M2M podcast. We're so glad to have you, man. Thank you so much for once again, Mr. Hutsy. Check him out on all of his platforms. We'll definitely be tagging it in all the comments below. Thank you very much. M2M, King Sold.
To Estate.
Thanks for having us. That was amazing, bro.